Alright, so I'm going to finish up the steering on the Jeep. If you saw the video with the WJ knuckles, that's kind of still where it is. I finished the swap and everything, but I still got to finish the brake lines and the steering. So I got a new steering stabilizer with a 1 1/4 clamp. This is all from Iron Rock Offroad. This is actually a ram mount right here for like a hydro assist, but it's going to work perfect for a steering stabilizer too, so that's what I'm going to use it for. I'm also going to take this opportunity to align it. I got some alignment plates here. These are also from Iron Rock Offroad. You just bolt these to the wheels, or to the studs with the wheels off, and then they give you a place to measure from on each side. You could do this without these, you know, just use like a strong piece of angle iron or something and strap it to the wheel, but this is a little more accurate, I'd like to think. And it was pretty cheap. It was like 60 bucks maybe, something. So once I get the wheels done and get them tightened up, I'll knock out the brakes too. I got a rear extended brake line because the brake line that's on there now is the stock one, and it's completely stretched to the point where it's kind of sketchy because it is lifted already with like a 2.5 inch lift, I think, and that just that little bit of lift is enough to make that brake line really, really tight at ride height. So I'll go ahead and get this stainless one on there, and then I'll be good for whenever I get my actual lift kit on. I also have this. So this is a hardline extension. This is actually what Rubicon Express gives when you get a lift from them, or some of their lifts have these in it. But you can get these separate too. On the passenger side front of a Jeep YJ, you can just take the factory hardline brake line and just kind of bend it over and mount it to the outside of the frame so that you can get to it easier, and it makes more sense. On the driver's side, you can't do that because the length just doesn't give you enough room. The hardline itself is too short. So I'm going to use one of these and put the brake line lower down on the frame in a location where it's actually accessible and gives a little bit more droop for the soft lines, or for the stainless lines. The front mounting locations on a YJ for the brake lines are really bad. I don't know why they did it like that, but I'm sure there was some reason. But we're going to fix it. So you can see on the driver's side how I had this hard line. I pulled it out from behind this shock tower just so that I could actually bolt it to the new line and test drive the Jeep and make sure it actually, you know, function like it was supposed to. Definitely not going to leave it like this. It's just zip tied on there. But so that's what we're going to fix. Alright, so here is this. Now the picture shows the line, they have it like touching the bottom of the caliper, and that's their reference point. So I'm going to do the same. See if I can get it to stay. Okay. If I get the other side on, then we'll start measuring. Alright, that side's good. And this side's good. Alright, I got two different tape measures here. One's the Stanley, one's a Black & Decker. One's much older than the other, but I did check them, and they are, you know, an inch is an inch on each one. So they're not, you know, like off from one another. I've seen that happen before on some other tape measures where one's slightly different. So that could mess up the measurement, but we'll be good with this one. See if I can snake this in here. It's going right over the leaf springs. Come on, baby. I need another thick tape measure, I feel like. There we go. Alright. This one's going right under the leaf springs. So here I have 63 1/4, 64 1/4. So I have an inch. Wow, I have an inch of toe in. Alright, so I'm going to grab the tie rod, spin it out, and adjust these about 1/4 inch. I'm going to aim for like a, I don't know, somewhere between a 32nd and a 16th for my toe in. Somewhere in there will be fine. Alright, let's get these jam nuts loose. They're just hand tight. There we go. Alright, so I need to tow it out. That doesn't take that much. Alright, let's see what it is now. Alright, so now I'm at 63 and 3/8, looks like. And this side is just shy of 64, so I need to keep going. $63.5. That's weird. 63 and 15/16 for this side. So let's keep going. 63 and 5/8. 63 and 3/4. 63 and 11/16. 63 and 11/16. Okay, so I'm right there. Right between 11/16 and 3/4. And this side is right at 3/4. So it's towed in probably about a 32nd. So I'm good with that. We'll see how that rides. We'll see how that steers and tracks, and check for any weird tire wear or anything. But I think that's going to be just about perfect. Okay. Alright, it's locked down. I'm going to check it one more time now that it's all ready to go. 63 and just shy of 3/4. 63 and 3/4. So perfect. Somewhere around the 32nd. Less than a 16th, but probably more than a 32nd. So should be just fine. Alright, so here's all my parts for the steering stabilizer. 6 little nuts and bolts that hold the clamp together, and 2 washers with a nylock nut for the ram part, or the stud part of the steering stabilizer. So the instructions say to just remove your old clamp and put on this new one. That's not an option for me since I don't have an old clamp and my steering is completely new. So what I'm going to have to do to find the location to mount this is measure this fully compressed like it is, extend it out all the way and measure that, and then find the center line, or find the midpoint of that, set the steering stabilizer to that point, and then mount that to the Jeep. So this is going to be a little bit of a pain because this thing's pretty stiff. Center to center when compressed is 12 inches on the dot. Oh yeah, as I expected. There we go. Okay, that's all the way out. All the way out, center to center, is roughly 19.5. So if we do 19.5 minus 12, that is 7.5, right? So I need to go 7.5 lower than 19.5, or wait, yeah. So what's half of 7.5? 3 3/4? So I need to go 3 3/4 inches in from this. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's right. Okay. So this shaft needs to be 3 3/4 inches sticking out. Ugh. Wow, that was almost perfect. A quarter inch too far. Okay. So right there, that's how it needs to be mounted on the Jeep with the steering centered. So let's go do that. I'll get put up here before I torque it down. And then I got this guy, and then this goes right here. There we go. That's more like it. That was a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I got it on there finally. These 6 bolts are torqued to 139 inch-pounds, I believe. And I used a drop of Loctite on each one. And then the big bolts on each end of the steering stabilizer are 60 foot-pounds. And it seems to work. I can turn lock to lock, no problem, with no binding or anything. So, should be okay. And I got it rotated, you know, back so that it's not gonna immediately get destroyed by something. Alright, so here's the back brake line, and look how tight this thing is. You can almost, you know, like strum it like a guitar string. I had a couple people that tried to tell me this Jeep isn't lifted and it's at stock ride height. This Jeep is on its weight, is on the weight of the axle, and that's how tight the brake line is. I don't think Jeeps came from the factory with a brake line that tight. And it has aftermarket shocks. And it has aftermarket bushings. And it had a transfer case drop. So I'm going to assume they don't know what they're talking about. Look at how this track bar bracket was broken. That's crazy. I might cut that down a little bit too while I'm back here. But I'm getting rid of this rear axle, so it doesn't matter too much. While I'm back here, I'm going to get rid of these shock boots too, because I hate them, as I've mentioned before. Alright, I got to get that brake line off, so I'm going to start scraping at it and spraying it with some cleaner. Alright, I got it cleaned up pretty good. There was quite a bit of just gunk and dirt all over it, so I sprayed it off with some brake clean, and then I soaked it with some PB Blaster, and I'm going to see if I can get them 3 lines out of there, including the vent. Oh, okay. It came off easier than I thought. Okay, 1. Oh, okay, alright, alright. That's so cool. I guessed it was either a 1/2 inch or a 5/8, so I went over to the toolbox and grabbed a 9/16, and that's exactly what it is. Okay, now I just need to get the line off at the top. Alright, I was trying to get this top line out, right, the top of this rear line out, but this bracket kept bending whenever I was prying on the, or you know, trying to get this unscrewed. So I shoved a pair of vice grips up in there and got my line wrench on it, and now it's coming out no problem. It finally broke loose once it was not bending around. So I'm going to get this out of here, get that new stainless line in. Alright, all tightened up. Now that is a lot more slack. And I cut those stupid shock boots off. Alright, so here's what we got. I'm going to put this line, this factory hard line, back behind the shock tower. I'm going to use this coupler right here, go into this extension, put it back there, and then bring this extension in right here, and have the new soft line go into this. So that's my idea. Let's see if it all works. Alright, there we go. Much better. Look how much slack the brake line has now. So here's the new piece of hard line coupled into the factory hard line. Factory hard line is still mounted down, so it's not wobbling all over the place, and it's mounted down here on the frame too, so it's it's not going anywhere. So all the brake lines are taken care of. I don't see any leaks or anything, although the master cylinder might be out of fluid by now. But I'll get the new master cylinder on and bleed it, and make sure we don't have any leaks, and then we'll be good to go with brakes. All right, all the lower parts of the brakes are ready. So tomorrow I'm gonna get after this booster and master cylinder, but I'm ready to tear it apart, and I feel like I've made a pretty good amount of progress today, but we'll see how tomorrow goes. Alright, so I'm going to end this video here. I'm going to make the master cylinder and booster swap its own video because I feel like that's going to be a pretty long one. I did have to go to Napa and get a couple of extra fittings for the brake lines that are going to tie into the master cylinder. The instructions actually give you the part numbers, so it's not, it's not something you're going to have to search for yourself. You just got to order those two little fittings for the brake lines, and that's it. For the brake lines, you could probably just, make a whole new brake line, but I hate dealing with brake lines and I hate flaring the lines, so I just chose the easy way out and used that little extension. It's only one more coupler, or one extra fitting that you're adding to it, so it's not that big of a deal. For the alignment, after I get the lift on, at that point I will adjust the drag link to straighten the steering wheel, make sure it's centered, and I'll probably check the toe again after the alignments, or after the lift is on. It shouldn't change theoretically, but I think I'm going to check the toe with the alignment plates level, like I'll put a bubble level on them and check the toe that way with the weight on the front axle, where the jack stands are on the front axle. So it probably doesn't make that much of a difference, if any, but I want to make sure it's right before I cruise down the highway. So I did receive my body lift. That's not going to be going on quite yet, and I think my slip yoke eliminator and my lift are going to ship either by the end of this week or early next week. So fingers crossed that they actually show up pretty soon. But first things first, once I get these brakes on, I can actually drive it. Or once I get this booster and master cylinder on and bled, then I can actually drive it before I tear all the suspension out from under it and put it back on jack stands again.